Previously in Ron Sailing, we went to explore the inland of Colombia and the enormous rock outside Medellin. We visited Guatapé and took a boat ride on the big man-made lake. Back aboard Ron, it was time for some boat maintenance.
So it's 5:30 in the morning and we're about to sail to Cartagena today, together with 3 Brazilian boats and 1 Spanish boat. So we're just fixing up the last stuff. Malin is doing the dishes here. Doing alright? You think it's too early?
No, it's not too early, but a little bit tired.
Yeah. The forecast says that probably there is going to be very little wind. So, yeah. But that's how it is this time of the year here in Colombia. Hopefully we get 10 to 12 knots of wind so we can sail. But it can also be that there is no wind at all, because the forecasts aren't very correct this close to the mountains here, so we really don't know.
Ja, det är bara att gå rakt direkt söderut. Inga hinder på vägen. So other boats are getting ready to leave. We're bringing back the lines to the boat. Everyone's getting ready. So finally it will only be us and the Brazilians. The Spanish boat had a problem. He cannot leave today because somehow his exit paper had wrong date on it, so he has overstayed his time in Colombia. So he has to stay here and sort that thing out. So we're gonna be 4 boats leaving together. This is the first time actually that we sail the same time as someone else. So that will be fun actually. It was nice with some marina life for a change. Many things are easier when you're moored to a dock than being at anchor. But it's always a relief when heading out to sea again and you feel the wind in your face. And when the temperature gets over 30 degrees, it's so much nicer at anchor.
We decided to sail to Cartagena after all. It turned out that the clearance fees weren't as expensive as we had first believed. It's about $60 for the agent and all the documents, both clearing in and out. That is, if you're already cleared into the country. The forecast told us that the wind was going to be very light the coming days, and also coming from the southwest, so we thought it was a good decision to wait in Cartagena for a while.
So it looks like it's going to be a long day by motor, because the wind is pretty weak and it's according to forecast. So, but hopefully, or maybe the wind will pick up when we're after we're crossing the river, Magdalena River, because from what we heard, the wind usually picks up around there. So we might get some sailing tonight, hopefully. It's a bit easier to sleep when you're sailing and not going by motor. We're actually going slowest by these 4 boats. The Brazilian boats are a bit ahead of us. They're doing 6 knots. We're doing like 5.3, 5.4.
No wind and quite big swell actually. since this morning, when we had a little bit of wind, the wind was coming from one direction and the waves are coming from to the side of the boat, which is the most unpleasant direction to get waves. So it's really rolly on board. And besides from that, it's okay. We've seen now 4 big logs or trees in the water, and we will see more, I'm sure of, because now we're closing in on Barranquilla and the Magdalena River, which is a very big river, and from there comes out a lot of debris, and it has been raining the last couple of days. So. It is still too early for the real trade winds, but we don't mind, because when the trade winds are the strongest, the stretch outside the Colombian coast can be very rough.
Yeah, the water is starting to get really dirty now. A lot of silt and debris coming out from the river. We've seen a lot of logs and quite a lot of plastic, trash. On the chart there's a warning, and it says when the water level is high in the river, generally between July and November, the current attains velocity of up to 6 knots, and floating debris and logs are likely to be encountered in the vicinity of the outlet of the river. And that's the area we're in now.
Yeah, there's something floating.
So we're going to cross the river, or the outlet of the river, about 2.5 nautical miles offshore. Normally when there's a lot of wind, the advice is to go 10 miles out, so we're pretty close. But today, when there's almost no wind at all, I don't think it will be a problem. But you can really tell that if there's a lot of wind here, the waves will be big. They say that it's because of the current from the river, but so far we haven't seen much of that. The current, I would say, it's pretty slack right now. No current at all. Doing 5.3 knots, and that's what we've been doing all day. But we'll see. We have a couple of miles to go, and maybe that'll change.
Just turn off the engine and we hear music from ashore, like pretty loud. And we're doing 5 to 6 knots, very good. We have 12 knots of wind apparent from behind, and it is rolly. The waves are big, and we are, I think, more or less now in front of the exit of the river.
Yeah, the beginning of the exit.
Yeah. The water looks, doesn't look nice at all. And for the first time we can see Ron's shadow in the water. So we see the mast in the water, and when you look at it you get feel dizzy.
Om vad det finns för egentlig last ombord på den fartyget. Utan det är ju så att det gäller i praktiken under ett totalt krig.
So we're passing the river outlet right now, and so far everything has been okay. We're doing I don't know, 5.5 knots, and the wind is in 12 knots apparent about, and I think we have around 60 nautical miles to go to Cartagena. So if we don't slow down, we will arrive during the night.
Strangely, we experienced that the amount of debris was more concentrated a couple of miles before and after the river outlet than right outside it. What woke you up?
I was resting down below when I heard a loud bounce. We hit the log. You're keeping a good watch, right?
Yes. But it's pretty hard to see right now because I have the sun.
Yeah.
I have the sun right in front of us.
Yeah, I know.
Hi, Loggy.
Yeah, as you can see, there's a lot of debris here now in the water, and the sun is about to set. But luckily, most of these logs are pretty small. We bumped into a couple of them, but no worries. They're too small to make any damage so far. So I think we'll be alright. We haven't seen anything big that could have made any bigger damage on the boat yet. So. And we left the river behind us, so it should thin out in the next couple of hours. We have, I don't know, Malin, how many miles do we have left to Cartagena? 50? Yeah, around 50 miles left. For the Brazilian guys, they decided to stop here in Porto Valero. There's a bay in here. But we think the wind is so good now that we want to continue sailing, because tomorrow there's going to be no wind at all again, and then we have to motor another 60 miles or 50 miles. So we want to take advantage of this. The sailing is really good. We're doing 6.5 knots. We only sail with the head sail still, boomed out with the whisker pole. I think maybe we have some current with us now, because there's not that much of wind. It's like 10-11 knots apparent. Yeah, I think it will be a good night. And it's pretty calm. The waves have come down quite a lot, so it's... What? Oh yeah, there's a flip-flop floating by. Pretty nice sailing, huh?
approved?
We have arrived to Cartagena de Indias. We see the skyline. We're going along the skyline now. And soon we're gonna pass over the underwater wall. And we are not really sure how deep it is. So that will be interesting. We'll go very slow.
The submarine barrier was built by the Spanish during the colonial era to prevent ships entering the bay from the northern passage. The ships were forced to use the southern passage, which made it easier for the Spanish to control and protect Cartagena's harbor from attacks from the sea. There is a passage where small crafts can go through the barrier, but according to our navionics charts, it's only 2 meters deep and our draft is 2.1.
It's a bit nerve-wracking, this. We know that it shouldn't be a problem to go through here, but according to the chart there is 2.1 meters. According to the guide it's 2.5, and according to our friends it's 3 to 4 meters deep.
According to this, yes.
And that went well. We're through. So I think the worst we saw was 1 meter under the keel, right?
Yeah. So in total 3 meters.
Yeah, 3.1. Are we doing all right?
Yeah.
Are you tired?
Yes.
Arriving to a new place is always more challenging when it's dark. The perception of distance becomes harder and lights ashore can easily be confusing.
Stay tuned for next week's episode, and thank you for watching. We'd really appreciate a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel. See you!